And I believe we're recording. So, hi, Hazel. Welcome.
Hi. Nice
Thanks.
to
So
see you.
nice to see you too. And thanks so much for agreeing to be our first contributor to this little series that we're calling More Than a Carer. Yes, I'm really just the person. Did you hear that siren go past? Yeah. Okay. So I live on a busy road. We will have to deal with sirens. Never mind. Gloss over them. So I was interested to hear that you are actually what you might call an East Renfrewshire gal. So you have always, if you've been living in Scotland, lived in East Renfrewshire. Is that true?
No, there have been times in my life when I've gone away from East Renfrewshire. I've had the exotic experience of living in London for a while, and I lived in South Devon. But the majority, 95% of my life has been based in East Renfrewshire, which was a bit of a surprise. I hadn't realised how close to home I'd actually kept.
Uh-huh. So where were you born, and where did you grow up?
Well, I actually was born in Clarkston, which at the time was kind of the Enid Blyton childhood. It was after the war. The suburbs were being built for the first time on the south side of Glasgow. And I had, when I look back pre-5, I just had a wonderful time. I played in the street all the time. The street was completely safe. Very few families had cars. And my whole day was spent out in the street, wearing old clothes, organising some kind of creative activity with the street. The more the merrier, actually, because of course there were lots of children in the street having the same experience. And if it was raining, you just went into the garage to have the creative experience. But we all played outside all day long, basically.
Uh-huh. So you played stories, telling stories. Did you put on productions, you mean, or just...
I don't even know if it was form. It was all to do with dressing up. Various households kept giving us things. So normally it would be brides, and poor young chaps would be age 4, would have to be the groom. And princesses and kings and queens. It was quite sparkly, I think. Forget sociodrama. It was nothing to do with that. It must have been myths and legends, but it was all hyper stuff. Big roles. Big roles.
Big roles. So you had a penchant for stories and drama and stuff from an early age.
Yes, I did. And I have no idea where that came from. I can remember playing shops in the back. My dad had a wee mini, one of the first minis that was cherry red. And the boot flapped down. And I can remember with a girl along the road, goodness knows what we got and what we were selling. Probably perfume that we had made with rose petals in jars filled with water. And sitting in the boot of the car, organising some kind of shop. So I just seemed to have this expressive thing going all the time, basically. But then so did everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Climbing trees, that was everyone's childhood around me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe my organisational ability was a bit unusual.
Okay, you mean your
People were
ability
waiting for me to start the day with them to see what was going to happen.
Okay, so you were often the instigator of the creative process.
I was. I'm ashamed to say I was. People probably got bossed out a lot, wear this, do that. It's going to be kings today, or whatever it was. I don't remember it being connected to myth, stories, or legend. It just was made up, I think.
Uh-huh. It'd be interesting to find some of those people from your childhood to see what they remember.
Yes. Yeah. I think possibly, of course, with Facebook now, probably I could do that very easily. Yes. Maybe I wouldn't want to, but no, I think I could.
And so this kind of theatrical bent, shall we call it, is that something that played out at primary school and high school as well? Or what?
Well, primary school was very different, because I went to what was at that time the largest primary school in Europe. There was 1,000 children. And in primary 1, there was 3 classes, 3 different sections, and each one had 50 children in it. So it was pretty intense. The teacher tried to control the class. It was very regimented. And the early years I don't remember with any great fondness. I can remember running away because there was lots of hitting naughty children going on. And whenever I thought I was going to be hit, I scarpered. But when I went through the primary school, it got better. I presume just education became much better. And maybe people got better at coping with the number of children in the school. But the kind of things we did were like musical evenings. You know, it was basically singing with a bit of dancing thrown in. That was what happened at primary school.
Okay. And then I know that you, after the sort of the Clarkston gas explosion in 71,
yes,
that's when your family decided to move out further. Is that right?
Well, that's sanitizing it. We did move further out to a little village called Uplemure. I think it was just a combination of things. I had met a girl who lived in Uplemure that I was very friendly with. There seemed to be a sadness about Clarkston at that time. My youngest sister was going to the largest primary school because it still was, and my mother was concerned that she wouldn't cope with that. So all things considered, we moved at that point because it suited us to Uplemure, although I carry the can in the family for the wee soul that just decided one day we were moving, and I of course just organised it all myself. Paid the money, got the key, got the title deeds, and off we went. And I must have been about 50 before my mother actually confessed that she had been evacuated in Uplemure during the war, and that she personally was very happy to be reconnected with her childhood in Uplemure. And it did work out very well for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all much happier in a quieter environment.
Right. And so on the drama theme then, did you then, you know, like you did as a 5-year-old, rally the neighbourhood kids, or was this drama at school?
No, because unfortunately, this is another school experience. Well, fortunately, I suppose, the high school I went to was a European experiment at that time. And you got tested by IQ, and then if you went to the school, you were either in a group of kids who were doing 5 hires or 6 hires, and it was modelled on a pre-university experience. And that meant that the lecturing, I suppose you could call it, was superb. I mean, it was just a wonderful education, but it wasn't a well-rounded experience. It was a bit soulless. I think there was a drama club, but it would be limited to things like Shakespeare. It wouldn't be good fun, you know, because you were absolutely shattered. You had 6 hours of tuition a day and a very short lunch hour, because it was basically to train you to get you into university. Mm-hmm. And academically, it was great. I did very well. It was just soulless.
And so then what brought you back on the drama path?
Well, probably because I fancied, well, I was obviously looking for an outlet. I mean, I had music lessons and I had dancing lessons. And through my dancing lessons, I auditioned for the local Scout gang show, which was quite a big, prestigious event in the King's Theatre every year. And I failed the audition. And I've no idea why. Because the dancing teacher who took the dancing school was the choreographer for the actual gang show. And I can only assume now, looking back, maybe I was quite a chubby adolescent. Maybe that was the real reason. I don't know, but I was very upset. So when I was sent to the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama to do music lessons after school, I noticed they also had drama lessons. So I quietly took the cheque my mother had given me for my music lessons and I swapped it for drama lessons. And in my class, I was 15, in my class at the time was Ilene Collins, who became an actress and a producer, and she's married to Peter Capaldi, one of the Doctor Who's. And really, you know, she was great because she had a very fixed idea of what she wanted to do. She got an agent early. You know, she knew where she was going, and all power to her elbow that she got there, because she got there all by herself. Mm-hmm. So that was the junior bit, the junior drama bit.
So there was something, although you'd been doing music and dance classes, yes, there was still a yearning in you, like just you sort of happened to be going to the Royal Academy, or whatever it's called, yep, and just went, actually, drama, that's what I'm drawn to.
Yes, and I don't really know why. I saw it there, and it was terrific. I just felt like I'd come home. You know, it was like the best youth club experience in the entire world.
Mm.
And it was a great antidote to what was going on at school.
Aha. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it really was. I mean, these were people, because we didn't, of course we spoke to each other at school, but because it was just so intense, there wasn't a lot of fun. Maybe if you were sporty, you got the fun bit, but you know, it was, there wasn't a lot of socialization really. So I did all that on the junior drama course.
Mm. And then once you'd done the junior drama course, you got bitten by the bug, and so you applied for the actual drama school.
Yes. Well, that wasn't really a popular decision. I mean, I did academically very well at the high school, so you know, I had lots of choices when I left. I could have gone into architecture, town planning, speech and language therapy, languages at Glasgow University. But I thought, hey ho, I'll just put in an application for what is now the Conservatoire and see how I go. And I was 17, so I never expected to get in. And I did. And I was the youngest person in my year. But it really wasn't a popular decision at home, you know, because it wasn't really considered a sensible thing to do. I was just delighted because it continued what I'd already been doing on the junior course. You know, I'm familiar with the lectures, I'm familiar with the building. I just thought it was great.
Mm-hmm. So you could keep going, and but because there wasn't sort of a huge vote of confidence at home, did that affect how your experience?
Yes, very much so, because in those days there wasn't student loans, it was student grants, and it was means tested. And if your parents earned a decent amount, then they made a completely nominal contribution, but you didn't get any money from the government. So Dad particularly wasn't too happy that I had taken this course of action. So I really had to find some kind of part-time job to sustain what I was doing. The good thing about the Conservatoire was, again, it was a really intense course. And when you think about it, my experience at high school just prepared me for that, because again, it was 6 one-hour lessons a day. But it meant you were kind of limited in what jobs you could pick up because you were so full on. There was no time off. So I ended up, again, back in East Renfrewshire, working in a hairdresser's on a Saturday and a Sunday. And then the rest of the week, I was an usherette at the Citizens Theatre, which was just brilliant, as you can imagine. It was the heyday when Giles Havergal and co had just arrived. So, you know, it was experimental theatre like no one had ever seen before. It was just jaw-dropping. And I got to watch it every night.
Uh-huh. So it's interesting, because I was wondering if that might be terrifying or exciting to be sort of seeing the reality of acting while you're studying.
Yeah, well, I suppose at the Conservatoire, I never thought I was going to be an actual actress. I mean, that wasn't a kind of decision. I just, because at the Conservatoire, you were trained in a very broad spectrum, diverse way. So I could have done stage management. You could have gone on to be a stage makeup artist. You could have done a whole variety of things. A voice teacher, you could have done that. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't particularly focused on acting. But I think the experience at the Citizens, because you're working front of house, you saw very clearly how the whole theatre was run. So actually the people that, it wasn't so much I didn't have little contact with them, because it was run very much as a family. You spoke to everybody. And it wasn't, there wasn't a protocol. I mean, it wasn't snobby in any way. It was just run as a family, regardless of your status. But you quickly worked out how theatre was run. So what I was trying to say was, you were very much aware of the stage management implications, because they would come and ask you afterwards, did that look okay? What happened there? Because you're sitting front of house and seeing the actual production. And all the other things, you know, that go on front of house, all the health and safety, all the fire stuff, you know. So you just saw the whole big picture. You know, and I just don't think acting for me was the big carrot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I couldn't really imagine every night doing the same thing. Basically.
Okay. Yeah, so there's something for you about the being involved, even being, you know, come to after a performance and saying, did that work? Did that work?
Yeah.
Involved in the whole pitch and the creation of it. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's just always where I've come from. And of course, it was fascinating, you know, being a young adult at that time, to see, you know, who was emerging at the Citizens at that time, because that would be Piers Brosnan, who then went on to be Bond. It would be people like Anita Dobson, who went on to do EastEnders. I mean, I'm just saying these names because people know these as household names. Rupert Everett, people like David Heyman. There's a lot of Scottish talent as well, but it was just a joy to be, because of the nature of the company and the way Giles Havergal ran it, it was just a joy to be there, quite honestly.
Mm. And what about your contemporaries at the now known as Conservatoire? Was there
Well, again, because it was full on, and because I'm working at the Sits at night, I'm not socialising a lot with these people, right? So I don't want you to think that they're near kin in any way. But, you know, in my year, the person that most people would recognise as being successful in her career would be Elaine C. Smith. She was in my year. And she was just as young as I was, actually. But floating about would be Alan Cumming and Forbes Masson, who were Victor and Barry. In fact, they developed Victor and Barry when they were at the Conservatoire, but they went on to do their own separate things. Gregor Fisher, Rabsy Nisbet, he was around. Phyllis Logan. And then during the time we were there, the cameras came looking for the talent show that Sheena Easton starred in, and that launched her to be a success. You know, wow. And I mean, there are all these people that I don't mention who are stalwarts of Scottish theatre and television, who did very well out of the Conservatoire experience as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was just nice to be part of a creative endeavour. You know, it was going to be a surprise. You never knew who was going to go far, because there's plenty of talented people about.
Wow, it must be quite interesting to look back and reflect on it. And so for you, you knew you weren't going to be an actor, actress, and you actually ended up going into teaching of drama.
Yes, well, I had a little romance with the sound engineer at the Sits. And that was actually very handy, because the sound engineer booth was right at the back where the usherettes stood, so that was easy. And he eventually got a job down in London. And I was trying to remember the other day, I think the first job he had was at the Bush Theatre, just round the corner from Shepherd's Bush Television Centre. And I can remember going down to visit. And the shows he was working on were the ones that Julie Walters and Victoria Wood were just beginning to do. You know, they were just at the beginning of their career. So I had a wonderful sort of 3 years down in London. You know, wherever he was working, there was tremendous opportunities to see plays, to meet people, and it was, you know, fascinating. I mean, London was fascinating. A girl from Newton Mearns goes to London, you know, you can imagine. Biba, Ken High Street. But in the end, I decided it was a wonderful life, but it was a bit like a holiday. It wasn't really real. So I returned, changed my mind, and thought I'd better. I always enjoyed working with children, so I decided to be a drama teacher, which you could do as the extension of my course.
Oh, okay, great. So did you have to go back and do a little bit more study?
And I had a 1 year postgrad, yes, to do the teaching bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so how was we actually haven't got that much more time. Let's give it 5 more minutes, because I love hearing about people's stories. How did your drama teaching career start? I mean, what did you do? Did you go to a certain school, or what? How did it work?
Yeah, no, actually, I went to an authority, because this authority has always done it this way. They always centralise drama in one place and then outreach. So I actually started peripatetic. I started in 4 primaries and 1 secondary, but that was to do with the primary school was supposedly, its catchy title, was the worst urban slum scheme primary school in Europe. So funding came for that. So I did that for about 4 years, and then changed again. And they set up like a drama centre, which they called the Drama Resource. And people who wanted to do any kind of drama course in high school came centrally into me. And I had all the good equipment, you see. Mm-hmm. So we could do technical things as well. And if they weren't coming into us, then we also were going out to special schools and specialist units for children who have particular learning challenges, with the idea that once we upskilled them, they could also join in the mainstream classes and benefit from the technology, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And that continued for 38 years.
Wow, you did that role.
Did that role for 38 years. I did. It was wonderful.
God.
You know, it's great to be part of a young person's journey. Again, you never know how they're going to end up, you know. And I think it was the fact that every class was a mixture of like 13 different high schools. So there was a great novelty about the whole thing, you know, and many young people were just wanting the experience. They weren't necessarily going to make it a career, because educational drama is much more about exploring themes and issues and social context, as well as the kind of acting skills of voice and movement. So,
Okay.
you know,
So,
many people are on a kind of personal development journey.
so it's a really good opportunity to kind of, I guess, role play and get kids in touch with different emotions that they might be uncomfortable with in themselves, but if they can be another person.
It's a good mixture. It was just a really good mixture of that kind of development and experimentation, and then the formalizing it into some kind of acting production, for which you would get a higher or an advanced higher, you know. A nice thing to do.
Yeah, no, great. It sounds great. And I know, actually, I'm sure you've done more, but we are going to run out of time. So I just wanted to ask you, sort of as a last question, what do you do now? Because I know you've retired, and of course, a caring role came in and complicated life, I guess, is a way of saying it. What do you do now for your kind of drama or theatrical fix, or what is there anything?
Yeah, well, when I was looking after my father, when I was caring for my father, I took a career break, and part of my bucket list had always been to investigate the world of psychodrama. And I had no idea what it was, but I just saw a course advertised at Glasgow University one day, and I thought, I'll go and try that, and thoroughly enjoyed it, and joined a professional training, which was double valuing my own professional development to return to teaching, basically. For a whole variety of reasons, didn't finish it, but I still keep in touch with those people, and when they run workshops, I still am a participant on these courses. So I enjoy doing that. And then I've ended up refurbishing my father's house, which I never expected to either. So that's been a bit of a creative kind of stage management experience, although I think project managing in the construction industry is definitely not for me. I think I'm too 2D instead of 3D. You can do it on a stage, but don't ask me to do it in rooms.
It's interesting, actually, because when you say that about psychodrama, I guess psychodrama is, again, it's kind of almost role rehearsal and role practice. And I guess it really made sense to you because that's what you did with young people.
Yeah. I know, and I went on in retirement to do a whole variety of things. I still am an external examiner for the Scottish education system, but I also do advocacy for young people with special needs. So there's been a lot of finding a voice, basically, is kind of what has run through my entire life. You know, giving people opportunities to find their voice, I think. And I think probably I'll just continue to do that. I can't imagine that I'm really going to be going along to sign up for craft classes or jam making or whatever it is. It's a great idea, but I think I'm a project girl.
Cool. Well, look, thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate you sharing your voice with us, just to give us a little glimpse into, you know, I think, because I think caring can take over a lot of someone's life and identity. And I think it's really great to hear of other aspects of a person.
And it's been really nice to speak about my life, you know, because you don't realize you've done the things you do, or you've had the experiences you've had, because it all just goes past, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is very easy to forget, you know, the various aspects of ourselves. Well, listen, I really I could talk to you for ages. I'm sure you've got lots more good stories to tell.
I just haven't told you the Richard Madden story, but I'll just keep that for another day.
Oh, hang on, no, Richard Madden. Let's go for that. Let's go. Oh, so he was, what was he, a
pupil of mine, yes. He had, shall we just say, problems with his attendance, so I didn't see much of him. I was delighted that he got into the conservatoire for his training. I was delighted to hear he was a medal winner. And if you look at the scurrilous press, apparently he was not happy in his high school. I mean, that wasn't my high school, he just came to me. And that all kind of fits together with what happened at the time. But good on him, he got there.
Yeah, and how interesting that you know at something of his life, and it's actually reading about him when he's famous that
Yes.
you can put the jigsaw together when
Well, I just couldn't understand why he wasn't as engaged as he could be, because clearly he was very able. But maybe the sociodrama, the role play wasn't his thing. Maybe pure acting was his thing, and that's fair enough.
Wow. Okay, so we got one more famous name in there. It's always good to name drop, I say.
I think it's great. I'll dine out on this as much as I can.
Okay, Hazel, thanks so much.
I'm
just recording now, but we can stay on and have another.
Right.
But anyway, we will say goodbye to our viewers.
We will.